What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
How's it going?
And virtually over the internets to my left, Zachary Parks. Oh, Top Gun.
What's up?
I don't think he can be on the show anymore.
That was totally improvised. I just found
totally.
these. I swear to God, they're just sitting right there.
I had to do it. For those listening, Zach just put on a pair of sunglasses as I introduced him. Looking all cool and sly.
He's unbearably lame.
I can't bear his lameness.
Just hurts.
Can't hear him as well. All right. Well, in case you did not know, Team Chat Podcast is a video game podcast where we talk about games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. If you want to get in contact with us, send us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and iTunes channels. If you want to support the show, you can do that as well by going to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show, and in return, we will give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before the general Tuesday release and access to our newly minted Discord server. So
Boom.
Check that out, patreon.com/teamchatpodcast.
And a quick shout out to our newest Patreon subscriber, Shiny. Thank you so much for your support. We love you so much.
Yes. And Raven Rises Again. Oh, we got him last week.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, cool. Just
Keep up, Jerrett.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to be sure we didn't leave anybody out because I always want to show thanks and gratitude to all of our Patreon supporters. So,
Yeah.
thank you. All right. Well, before we get into our topic of the day, we have a couple things. First off, we did have a winner of the song contest from last week.
Boo.
Bro Mogan gave us the hint of Dig Deep. And it was correctly guessed as Shovel Knight by Michael Sandoval.
Whatever. That guy's not cool.
He beat you to the punch. You gotta get over it.
He's not a real person. The bot.
Lame.
But, so, Michael, send us a hint for a future episode. We'll get that in there. Stick around to the end of this episode when Dylan Biles will be giving us a hint for this week's song contest. Now, again, the second bit of news that we have to go over. Why, for the last few episodes, has our dear co-host, Zachary Parks, been through Skype only?
He's
and not
been
gracing us with his presence physically.
He's been thinking up that sunglasses thing for a month.
That's true.
Why.
That takes a lot of
That's why I
planning.
came home, just for that one bit.
Just for that one bit.
joke.
But now he's finally put it out there on the social media so we can actually talk about it here. Zach is currently in Virginia producing a feature film project.
Yes.
So tell us.
Yeah, I've been super busy working here in Virginia, in my hometown of Charlottesville, and which obviously everyone knows now what Charlottesville.
Can't hide anymore.
But yeah, we've been producing this feature, and we are shooting in September. So that's why I've been here. But I still found time to do the Team Chat podcast.
Hell yeah.
Even though we were very busy, but that's how much it means to me and all my fans.
But you can check out his project. He recently put up a Kickstarter for it. So it's called Bentley's Will, right?
It's called Bentley's Will. Yeah. Okay. So you can go to Kickstarter and check it out there if you want to be a part of the project. You're totally welcome, or just to kind of keep up with it. That's a great way to keep up with it. We'll be doing updates there. So yeah, Bentley's Will is the name of the film.
We probably should mention that the Kickstarter does have a pretty tight timeline. So if you're going to get in and support it, you got to move quick. Chop, chop.
It's like now, yeah.
It's like now.
Which I think I think there's like 9 days left. But it's if you're interested, I'd recommend just to do it right now. But any support we obviously greatly appreciate, and it'd be cool to get some Team Chat people involved. I would like
and
that.
there's some cool perks that you also get by supporting your film. You can get your name in the credits. That kind of crap always really appeals to my vanity. I'm like, yes, I helped make this.
This is fine.
It was all me, you peons.
You get your name in the credits, a poster. You'll get the film if you give $25 or more, I believe. So yeah, there's actually hopefully the rewards make a bit of sense and they are actually, rewarding.
Well, that's awesome. We knew about it obviously for a little bit in the past. So it's cool to now see that it's finally entering the production stages, getting ready to get it done. And I want to see the finished thing. It looks
exciting.
Yeah,
I'm excited too. Okay. So the topic of today is another Patreon submitted topic. We put out the call for topics to our Discord server. Want to be like, what do you guys want to hear us talk about? And people responded. And so now we must follow up on that promise and talk about what they wanted us to, which is this week, we're going to talk about mid-generation console upgrades.
I was thinking, how great would it be if we solicited commentary from our viewers and then just never did
anything with it and be like,
just completely
screw you guys.
Disregarded it. Just ignored them.
Take your money and run.
Your suggestions are bad and you should feel bad.
But no, it's actually one that's very timely because now, especially with the Xbox One X is now entering the pre-order phases.
I'm calling it the Scorpio still, and I don't care who disagrees.
Well, they added more confusion to it because they announced that you can buy a Project Scorpio version of the Xbox One X.
They're
so they're
not
just
doing
doubling down on all
any
this.
favors here. They're really
I didn't
shooting.
realize that. Why are they doing that? Because people like the
I guess
name so much?
I guess people liked the original name of it. They're like, that's kind of cool. And so they're like, yeah, well, it is cool, and you can have it too. So,
They knew what they
I
were
don't
doing.
know. But
They knew
You're
what they
our
were
only
doing.
Microsoft guy. You have to know these things.
Well, what's funny, and I think I mentioned this when the Scorpio was first announced, how terrible I personally thought the name was. I was like, I thought that was an awful name.
I don't know,
by
though.
like a 5-year-old.
compared to Xbox One X,
It's
I don't know.
gets tougher now that you're getting into these different tier levels of consoles. The naming's like could be a whole topic. Console names. We should do that for a show.
In my head, I'm calling it the Xbox Cubed because it's like Xbox, Xbox One, Xbox One S, and now we have Xbox One X, which is XBOX.
which the next
So,
one
yeah.
will be Xbox One X squared up at the top, So
All right, so I don't know, square root of Xbox? Is that what we're going to call it? Sounds good.
well, and so we got the Project Scorpio, or no, we have the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and now the Xbox One X. All from Xbox. PS4 is hitting us with the PS4, PS4 Slim, which I mean they had a PS3 Slim.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily
Yeah,
anything
that's
new.
true.
Because it doesn't have that many big upgrades as far as performance and stuff like that. But then PS4 also has the PS4 Pro, which has bigger hard drive, faster processors, and obviously the ability to do 4K. Which, as games continue to get prettier and prettier, that becomes more appealing. But
I was about to say that's kind of where I wanted to start the conversation because, for example, with the PS4 Pro, which as of right now is really the only one that's actually actively on the market,
Right. that
would be notably known as this sort of mid-console upgrade. Do you know anybody that has one?
PS4 Pro, no. I've read people online who have them, but I do not personally know anyone.
Technically I don't know the guy. On my way back to Virginia, I stopped at a friend's house in Nashville, and his roommate had it.
So
That's random, but I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" He's like, "It's
an
PS4 Pro."
acquaintance's roommate, and nobody we actually know has a PS4 Pro. So I feel like maybe it's just because I don't give a crap, but I have not heard anything about the PS4 Pro since it came out. No good feedback, no bad feedback. It feels like it came out and immediately just went under the rug to me.
The thing is, I think about it is that it's the big thing that is going to draw players into the PS4 Pro is the fact that it has 4K capability. Obviously, more people are wanting that now. It's the new 3D of televisions. If you have 4K TV, you're being a pretty set big baller. But the problem is, a lot of people still don't have 4K TVs.
Yeah.
So, like me, I don't have one. If I had one, you better believe I will be going to pick up a PS4 Pro, especially because how beautiful it looked for games like Horizon Zero Dawn or even Last of Us Remastered. Once the PS4 Pro came out, they enabled a patch that put a higher resolution adaptation. I can't remember the term that they used for it, but basically it kicked the graphics up about a bit if you were using a PS4 Pro or had a TV that was HDR compatible. So again, it adds just not only do you have to buy a new console, you have to then buy a new TV to take full advantage of that console.
And I feel like that's kind of oh no, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I do agree about the 4K. That's really probably the only appealing factor to me as well, because as a video editor in editing stuff in 4K and seeing that seeing that technology evolve in that medium, it is sort of exciting to think about playing games in 4K format. I would think that may be worth it to dish out, but like you said, you gotta have the TV for it.
Right. I mean, especially for me, it looks appealing for games like Horizon Zero Dawn or big open world ones. I don't think I'm going to care as much on a platformer necessarily or a first person shooter, but. I don't know. Graphics are graphics, and nice graphics look great. So I would appreciate that. I would definitely take it into account, but I don't think I would be blown away by it unless it was a game. where you really got a nice environment, a nice setting, and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, at least on this side, that have this more positive outlook on mid-console upgrades, share your view. I've taken a few quotes from a few articles that were really coming out right after E3 2016, when Microsoft was really announcing, oh, we just launched the Xbox One S, this was at that time, and they were still teasing Project Scorpio before everybody knew that it was the Xbox One X. And some of the people that were really interested in it were, of course, major game publishers. So a few publishers such as EA, Ubisoft, and Take-Two really came out in support of this type of approach, some of them specifically calling this type of evolution positive evolution. Now, I kind of agree with that to a certain extent, and I like the idea of what I think it was the head of Xbox operations, Dave McCarthy. He phrased it as, the term of an upgrade is gone. We are wiping out those generational boundaries, generations being console generations. As a gamer, it's pretty cool because then I know the games I buy and play today and the controllers I use today are going to work on that machine of tomorrow. And that's the real major step change, is this idea of getting rid of these generations of consoles. You know,
Right.
You have the GameCube, you have the Wii, you have the Wii U, you have the Switch, in favor of these upgrades. But if your upgrade is another piece of hardware, I don't really get why you're bothering to call it the same thing.
I would prefer it rather, I feel like, than mid-console or mid-generation upgrades or whatever the new term is that they'll use for these when this becomes the norm, because that's obviously what's going to happen. I would much rather prefer just an expanded backward compatibility list.
Yeah.
Because that's my thing, especially as I play more games. I had the thought of, man, I love this game right now. That's going to suck when I can't play it again.
Now-
In 20, 30 years, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I really want to play Horizon Zero Dawn again, but can't because either my PS4 is broken or there's literally no other means of playing this game. So I would feel like I would appreciate more a stronger backward compatibility being a thing in these, or even if it's new consoles, but that'd be awesome to have the console of whatever that is in 20 years and be able to download a patch, download a digital version, however that's handled in those days of these older games that I love throughout my entire life.
So actually, that's what a lot of the industry is saying is the whole point of the mid-console upgrade, as opposed to doing an entirely new generational installment.
Okay.
The point is to make
get
sure
that.
that people that own the Xbox One X and whatever they have that comes after that is the next upgrade would still be able to play all the same games, still have that backwards compatibility, because in theory, there would be no such thing.
Right.
It would just be that the consumer that has the Xbox One X just has lower resolution, lower quality than the person that has the fully upgraded version. Now, they say that that's the idea and that's how it's supposed to work. But I don't really agree with that viewpoint, because I think that the pace of technology is naturally going to phase out the lowest common denominator. If you have an Xbox One X and you don't have a 4K TV, then why are you going to upgrade?
Right.
Why are you going to upgrade to the next biggest thing? And even when you eventually do, when you upgrade all the way and you want to go back and play some of your older games, that scale up, I mean, at least in my mind, isn't going to be as good. Obviously, playing a really old game on a really new TV, I mean, even right now, it's like, oh, wow.
Sam and I were
the
playing
quality
Mario
is
Kart
really
64
terrible.
earlier on my big 1080p TV, and we were like, huh. And Sam
I
was
mean-
like, we've been playing it on
Yeah.
the Switch a lot. And she's like, oh my, this looks so crappy compared to the Switch. And I was like, I know, but I mean, that's just what it is. It's partly because it's on a big TV, but
Yeah.
still.
And I mean, part of it is just that those are things that you can't really patch up unless you do a port. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
really do an old version of Mario Kart, for example, on the Switch and have it look as good as the more recent versions did unless you were porting it, unless you were doing a mastered edition.
Right, which is why we're
Yeah,
seeing a
exactly.
huge influx of these remasters and
Exactly.
remastered and
So in a
things.
lot of ways for me, this whole idea of mid-generation upgrades, it seems like a moot point. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have higher graphics and higher resolution, but isn't that kind of the whole point of the next generation?
Yeah.
It just seems like it's, chasing itself in circles, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, you're adding new things onto a console, but you're also leaving behind something that is very integral to consumer psychology, which is hype.
Yeah.
For example, some people like with the Xbox One X, a lot of people were saying, "Hey, Project Scorpio sounds like a cool idea and all, but here's the thing. If it's just an upgrade and it doesn't really have anything to hook me in, why the hell am I going to do that?" Whereas a lot of other consumers are saying, no, just make Project Scorpio. It's a whole new generational installment in the Microsoft series, and pair it with a really big, punchy exclusive like Halo 6, for example.
Right.
Because then when you have that, we saw it with the Switch. I mean, Switch demand for the Switch coupled with Breath of the Wild, even though they were doing Breath of the Wild on Wii U as well, was through the freaking roof. If you didn't have the pre-order, there was no chance you were going to get it at launch day.
Yeah.
And that created massive sales. It generated what game industry needs to stay alive. Revenue.
Right.
Profit. And if you don't have anything to get people excited, they're straight up not going to do it. Especially if your next iteration comes with peripheral attachments like, well, you get all this stuff, but if you don't have the peripheral hardware like TVs or a really fast internet connection to get the most out of this new piece of hardware,
sorry about you.
Yeah. So it just seems like a non-starter to me. It feels like they're never really going to be able to get it off the ground if you don't have people jumping on board right away.
Right.
Well, okay, so I'm thinking about a couple things. One is the reason that I see new console, these even mid-generation upgrades come into play, and so part of the question or part of the conversation is how we should label that, whether or not we should be like, hey, this is actually a new generational thing, or hey, it's just a small upgrade to kind of what you already have a little bit better. Regardless, I'm very much for the idea of, even if it's just small improvements, which I think at first I kind of laugh at. I'm like, hey, I don't need that. I have what I already need. Why would it's like a vanity thing almost? Like, I don't need to upgrade and get like a cool design. But at the same time, I can kind of sympathize with the idea that Xbox and PlayStation and Sony and Microsoft, obviously, they need to maintain a pulse, right? And the games versus the consoles, there's something happening with like games and consoles. Like, it's always been the console that has the games, but now it seems like the games are really what it seems like the games have a little bit more power in that dynamic. For me, like growing up, like getting an Xbox to an Xbox 360 was the exciting thing. Now it's like going to play whenever the next Horizon Zero Dawn comes out, and it's the console doesn't necessitate that purchase, it's the game necessitates the console purchase. Does that make sense? It's like, like you said with Breath of the Wild, it's like the fact I didn't buy the Switch, I bought Breath of the Wild is what it kind of felt like. And so the games seem to have a lot of power, and whatever game the console will be on, I will probably get. So part of me does agree with the fact that if they could turn the Xbox or the PlayStation Pro or the Xbox One X and make it into I like the idea that you could take put Halo 6 on it, and that will generate the hype you were talking about, because I actually get caught up in that. Like when the Xbox 360 and then when the Xbox One came out, that was exciting.
Yeah,
I felt
it
like
is.
The gaming industry was expanding and we're doing new things. And even if it's like, you could almost treat it as, hey, we're going to do this Project Scorpio, and this is a totally new take on how we're going to present a console to you. Like, even that would be enough. If they're like, you know what, we're going to try a different approach for this. We're going to use a completely different user interface. We're going to have you, the player, build the user interface yourself. You know what I mean? And that's not like a you won't have to fully upgrade the console to be some new amazing console. You kind of just tweak some things. It's like, hey, it's like a blank canvas, and you're going to be able to create, that's just one idea, for example.
Right. You get to build out your own loadouts, how you want to see it on the screen and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like, and I could almost see the gaming business world embrace those ideas rather than like more hardware, more, better graphics, 4K. I could almost see them like, okay, let's get away from the technical stuff, and what can we do with games from a more like philosophical way? Like, how can we approach our consumer in a very different way? And honestly, and this is a little bit off topic, I think Nintendo does that the best. I mean, the Switch to me is like they're not trying. And Nintendo's never been like this, but they actually think, how can we approach gaming in a different way? And I think the Switch is actually a very good example of like a good design that actually tries to achieve multiple things that aren't common in the industry.
Right.
So that's what I see.
Because they made a console that's complete, that can be either a home entertainment system or a mobile entertainment system, and you don't have to have make the choice of one or the other. You can do both, and that was a huge stride in that.
And you could argue whether or not it actually worked. I mean, there are some people that say, "Hey, the mobile really sucks. You lose frames per second. It doesn't really do that well in sunlight, for example." So you could argue all day whether or not it wound up being worth it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it was clearly worth it to Nintendo because Switches are still freaking hard to find.
Although I will say, I was at Target yesterday, and the one in South Austin. So anybody South Austin might go want to check this one. Still, it had 6.
Oh, nice.
So maybe they're more in store.
So that just does kind of reiterate the fact, though, that we are now in what month is it? August, and they came out in March. And some people are still having trouble actually locating a Switch that isn't part of a bundle that they don't want, for example.
Right.
So they did a really good job of generating high demand. And when was the last time you went to the store and you said, "Hey, I want a PS4 Pro"?
I mean, it hasn't been in a while. I mean, and that's that same thing. I mean, I could see people making the argument of, well, I'm going to get the PS4 Pro now, and then when I can afford it, I'll get the 4K TV. That's a good way of going about it too. I will say though, going back to the whole thing about building up hype for it, when the PS4 came out, I was trying to get one. They came out in November of 2013. I didn't get one until mid to late January because they were still selling out every single store.
You didn't get those Black Friday sales? What were you doing, punk?
I didn't want to do it because we were saving up money because we got married in December. So
that's stupid. That's all stupid.
But so the funds were not available until January. But still, I had a hard time finding one. And I seem to remember that not as much with the Xbox One, but still, like, there was a lot of people excited about it, obviously because like they were already pumping Halo 5 at the time and different things like this.
Yeah, so you were excited about it. You were excited about the release of a new console.
Yeah. Now, I will say, though, all the stuff that we're talking about with people, like, it's not necessarily any of our cup of tea, it sounds like, but it did come out yesterday that the Xbox One X so far is on pace, and this is an article on windowscentral.com, it is on pace to beat the PS4 Pro on Amazon for all of 2017 as like the most sold.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me because the PS4 Pro, I mean, like I said, it feels like it just got swept under the rug.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's kind of like non-news to me. It's like, okay, yeah, but so the console that we didn't hear anything about after it launched.
But the thing about it that's interesting is that pretty much since launch, the PS4 has been kicking the Xbox One's ass in sales. As far as just, month after month, it's still the top one, still the top one. So it's interesting to see that these mid-generation consoles are the ones where it's starting to get tighter and Xbox might actually start overtaking PS4.
So I wonder if that's because Xbox One's timing has been a little bit better. When the PS4 Pro came out, 4K TVs were not as prevalent.
Yeah, now you can buy a big big one for like $500.
Even just given a few months to a year's difference, now that is becoming a more prominent fixture in U.S. households, maybe the timing of the Xbox One X is just better because they've timed it to match up with the current technology.
True.
And that kind of leads me back to my original point. If you don't match the current technology, you're going to lose consumers because people are going to look at your new upgrade or your new mid-console, whatever we want to call it, and say, that's really nice, but I don't have the thing that you need to make that work, so I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's always going to be kind of the risk with this type of approach. I mean, it's the cycle of gaming as a whole, is that eventually something is going to get phased out. But I just have a lot of reservations about this being ultimately a profitable way of presenting gaming to the end user, to the consumer.
Yeah.
It seems like it has a high margin of error for cost benefit. I mean, it just seems like it's going to cost more to me than it might ultimately be worth.
Well, and for me especially, damn microphone. Okay, but for me especially, the one thing about that is like the PS4 Pro came out and I was like, oh, that's really cool that that's now there and that's a thing. But also, I'm not going to drop another $400 every single time one of these comes out.
Exactly. So what's the point of doing a mid-console upgrade if people aren't going to buy it? That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. So
okay. So there's a couple things that come to mind. Price is one. That's a big one. And I'm sure as the technology gets better, I would imagine that it also would maybe cost less to make these things. Like, could you guys see the price coming down in the next couple of years?
Maybe coming down. Sorry, go ahead.
And the other part of the comment was there's something to be said for design. And you see it in cars and you see it with the iPhone. As much as I knock, like, hey, you're going to get the next iPhone and it does the same thing my iPhone does, I still want the new iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a sucker.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Of course I am. And I'm looking at pictures for the Xbox One X and I'm like, oh, that looks way better than my Xbox One.
Yeah,
and I want
really
that.
sleek.
And
it's smaller.
There's something to be said for sleek design.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, when I saw your Xbox One, I was like, what the damn hell is that?
Oh, like I love the design of the PS4 way more than the design of the original Xbox One.
But the Xbox One X looks pretty cool.
It does. I will admit that too. It's smaller. It's more more compact. It's got a little bit sharper lines. I do like the design of it too. But the one thing that I was going to bring up about this also is in relation to what you were saying about if it gets cheap or not. I had a small hope. I didn't really see it panning out. I just hoped that maybe with the release of these mid-generation consoles that they would also be like, here's the price. Here's the price brand new. Here's the price if you are upgrading from an older system. And you like had this way of like you're trading in your older one to Sony, to a GameStop, to somewhere that, which I mean, I guess there's already the trade-ins that you can get, but like a actual trade-in deal you would want to take and
essentially
not getting
a recycling system and not necessarily a trade-in.
Exactly. Where it's like, you bought the PS4, that's awesome. You want the PS4 Pro? Okay, well, it's like $150 cheaper for you. But you have to give us your PS4 kind of thing. Or something like that. That would be, I feel like that would have been cool. And maybe it'll get to that point in the future because, the price point right now is the big thing keeping me from going to one of those.
I mean, because like a PS4 Pro is still $500. Yeah. And it's like, holy cow. And that's before you get anything else to go with it, for example, a 4K TV.
Right.
And for the majority of consumers, I feel like that price barrier, at least when the console is still new, is very prohibitive to the extent that, and I actually find myself doing this with things like computers, phones, etc. I will get one iteration. I won't get the next one. I will wait for the next one.
That's usually how I am.
And I'll leapfrog it. So it just seems like you have a very high potential to lose that middle version because the sales of your original and or withholding sales for the future are meaning you're just losing sales all around.
Right. Now, the one thing that I do hope that since it does seem by all signs that this is the way the industry is going with these mid-generation consoles, that there doesn't become a point where it's like they have exclusive games for the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. Like, hopefully, maybe they, at some point there has to be a cutoff, like, okay, this hardware is too old, it can't run this game. But like, that's what a lot of people were afraid of when these consoles first were being announced, was that, does that mean there's going to be exclusives for these consoles only? Because if so, that's bullshit.
According to all of the industry reports I've read, that's exactly what they're trying to avoid.
Exactly. So that's what I would hope that stays that way. And, they don't be like, oh, this is a terrible idea. Never mind. We have to exclusives because we need this to sell. That being said, and this is the second point to this that or another part to this that I was wanting to bring up, Xbox seems to be killing it in the hardware area. They're making this great new console. It's got a lot of great specs and it's really freaking cool. But where are the games to back it up?
That's the thing. They don't have the games. Yeah. That is Xbox's biggest thing for me. I mean, there's nothing on the horizon of Xbox that's an exclusive.
Right, exclusive.
That has me even mildly interested.
Yep.
Actually, that is false. I take that back.
Okay.
It's Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one they have. A tiny little indie game that I'm like, I want it real bad, man.
Oh, I do too. I haven't even finished Ori and the Blind Forest, and I want
it real bad. But the thing is...
I agree about Xbox not having games. It's been a bummer in the last year and a half that there hasn't been anything that I've really been interested in.
Now, the one hope that I have with one of the things that I can see being a positive impact of these mid-console upgrades is that improved hardware attracts developers.
Right.
So I'm hopeful that maybe when the Xbox One X does officially launch, that greater ability to maintain a higher standard of hardware and ultimately a better experience for the consumer will hopefully lead to some exclusives. Like, I don't want Xbox to fail as much as I love to hate on them. Like, I want to see competition.
Well, right.
And that's what I feel like they're lacking right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
I
Nintendo
agree.
for Sony is not really ever going to be a competitor in the way because they're not making the same kind of game. They're not trying to hit the same kind of audience. Xbox is that competitor for Sony. And so, that needs to be stronger. They need to keep that as a healthy competition. And right now, just like E3 came and went, and they made this whole deal about how we're going to have so many exclusives. I think they said they had like 40, they were going to have like 45 exclusives upcoming. None of them. Actually, there were a couple that I saw that I was like, okay, I want to see more of that. But I wasn't like, oh my God, I have to play that. They did this big montage in their presentation where they showed all these different games, like quick little clips. And one or two of those is like, I wish they would have talked about that one than the ones they did talk about.
Yeah.
But I appreciate and really, I appreciate a good 16-bit, 8-bit retro looking indie game or something. I know that those have their place, but that's not going to sell me on needing a 4K experience.
It's not. The games are what's going to sell you.
Right.
I mean, I feel like most people are going to agree with that. Ultimately, the game is what's going to sell you on getting the system. And if it's not an exclusive, you're going to get it for a different system that you already own.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is a whole market that I think about that I'm not obviously part of, and nor are y'all, but basically the kids, like a 12-year-old that is about to get a console for the first time. And I'm sure Sony and Microsoft, that is something they want to generate hype in that certain division of the market, because they're going to be like, all right, a lot of, this Christmas, a lot of kids are going to be wanting a console, and the PS4 gets less and less exciting every year, and so does the regular Xbox. And maybe there is something to be said about first-time console owners and providing them with something new. You always do seem to have something new out there. And obviously it's appealing to us, but it just makes less sense because we already have really great stuff.
That's
And
true.
so that's probably a market that they are focused on somewhat heavily. I mean, that's probably a huge market for that. People that are
I'm sure it
first-time
is.
console buyers.
I mean, even if it's just a kid, the person buying that console is their parents. And if the kid is going to their mom or dad, I want that one, not the other one. I want that one right there.
I want the new one.
The ability of children to heavily influence their parents cannot be discounted in any way. I mean, that's a huge driver of sales for all industries, all of them, except for maybe minivans. I don't think it affects those.
For cars.
I want to own one.
No kid is looking at a minivan and going, yes.
I don't know, except if they like the sliding doors when they're like
The sliding
3.
doors are pretty cool. It does
the best
makes you
feature
feel like
of a
it's a
minivan, I
spaceship.
guess.
It's awesome. So,
But so obviously we're divided on them. We don't quite see the use or need of a mid console.
Games, man. I care about games.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's what's going to be the ultimate deciding factor for me too. Like if Horizon Zero Dawn 2 comes out and they're like, here's what it's going to look like on the PS4. Here's what it's going to look like on the PS4 Pro. I might be like, ooh, might be time to go to that PS4 Pro. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm buying the console for. Like what you were saying, like what we touched on. We're buying the console for the game. Whichever console gives us the best playing experience is what we're going to go with and for us, especially at this point in our lives, the cheapest amount of money to be spent.
Yeah.
And right now, that I think for all of us is sticking with the base console of this generation.
yeah.
But that could change. We could come into schloads of money.
Come into some money.
Zach could sell his film for boatloads.
Or maybe we've
Right.
taken out a hefty life insurance policy on Zach, and then maybe something happens to him. I mean, maybe
Something good happens.
Either way,
happens
Zach's
to
gonna
him.
float us.
It's gonna be Zach,
I could play that role. He did for a while.
either through his death or his success. He will get us
Then
many dollars.
collect the money.
But and that could change our opinions then when we have the money to spend on that. But as of now, I think that pretty well sums up all of our thoughts and feelings on these mid-generation console upgrades.
Yeah.
But it is now time for us to skip on to some news with the moment with Mogan.
So much news. Actually, there is so much news. I don't know what's going on in August, but a bejesus ton is happening. So last week we had a ton of launches that came out on August 22nd. We have an equally larger roster actually for August 29th. So out now, as of this airing on Tuesday, August 29, you have Absolver for PS4 and PC. That's one we're both pretty interested in. You have Mario plus Rabbids for the Switch. So that one's going to be a fun one for presumably a lot of people, especially kids. We have Redout for PS4 and Xbox One. We have Yakuza Kiwami. Or Kiwi, I'm not really sure how to spell it, how to say that, for PS4. We have XCOM 2, War of the Chosen for PS4, PC, and Xbox One. Resident Evil Revelations is coming out for PS4 and Xbox One.
So that'd be a remaster then.
Yeah, that's a remaster. Okay. And then we have Warriors All-Stars, PS4 and PC. And we have Windjammers for PS4 and Vita. There's your one Vita plug for the month. And then coming soon, don't forget, we have Life is Strange Before the Storm. Mere days after this episode airs for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, coming out August 31st. And to wrap it all up, we have Knack 2, spelled with a K.
Oh, Knack.
Knack 2 for PS4. Oh, it's an exclusive. Oh, no.
The first Knack was a PS4 launch title, and and people were like excited about it before it came because they played demos and stuff. Then the game came out, and they kind of was met with a lackluster reception. But now people, like hardcore Knack fans, are really clamoring for Knack 2. So hopefully it will be better than its predecessor.
And notice they don't have to have the PS4 Pro to get it. Boom.
Because
so Knack 2.
current console compatible.
That's true. So Knack 2 is coming out for PS4 September 5th, so this is a little more future looking. And here's your one that you might try, Destiny 2. Don't forget,
game that somebody's heard about.
Yeah, don't forget it's coming out for PS4 and Xbox One September 6th.
And PC.
And PC,
That's soon.
Yeah, and PC.
Which I think I decided I'm going to get it.
Jerrett, falling into the old Destiny trap.
I'm going to get it.
I should probably get it too.
You sound like you're more resigned to your fate than you are excited about it.
No, I am half excited. I'm very much excited.
It will be good.
More than half.
I have somewhat high hopes for it.
I'm 75%. Like high hopes for it. Everything I've seen, articles I've read, and even from what I played in the beta, even though, like I said, I felt the beta was a little light, but it was still a lot of fun. And from what I've read, they've thrown in a whole lot more to make the grind way less. Like I saw that today that there's these adventures. They actually have a map now of all the areas that you can pull up to look around and see where things are happening and what's what in the world. So I don't know. There are lots of different new changes, and I think it can make for a much more engaging experience. But I also do have my reservations because I've been burned by Destiny before. So, but I still think I did make the decision. I'm going to get it.
Nice. You going to get it, Zach?
I should get it because I don't have anything else I really want to get, and I haven't gotten a new game since. I got the first episode of Life is Strange, but since Breath of the Wild, really.
Yeah, it's time. You need a new game.
You do.
Yeah, I need a new game. And Destiny, I got the first one, and it would be funny if I did get it because I told all my friends I would never get another Destiny. So
you got to keep them guessing.
If I'm like, playing it one day. Oh yeah, this is pretty good.
Oh yeah, I approve.
I never said that.
God, I can't talk. Let me know if you do decide to get it because I'm still trying to. I can't decide which platform I want to get it for. PS4.
Get
or
it for
Xbox.
Come on.
Get it for
That's
Xbox.
right.
Zach needs friends. Look at this loser.
I will probably get it for Xbox.
We could be Guardians of the Light together.
Hell yeah.
So lame.
Or matching shirts. And sunglasses.
And drive out the darkness. Damn, darkness.
Oh, awesome.
All right. Well, that is your moment with Mogan. Also, it should be noted that since we're running a little bit low on time because Zach's got a film to produce and he's got meetings, wheeling and dealing that he has to get done. So we got to cut this a little bit shorter today. But this last week has also been Gamescom over out in Germany. Lots of cool stuff coming out from there. Lots of big changes, especially announced for Overwatch. They released two new shorts. Well, one's an actual one of their shorts. Another one's just a fun little video with Junkrat and Roadhog announcing a new map. They gave a new animated short on May. They announced a whole bunch of changes to some heroes. Pretty massive changes for heroes.
Massive changes to Mercy and Diva.
As well as the normal gamut of new game announcements and such, which one looks very interesting to me, Biomutant.
Oh.
You'll have to check that one out. You're like woodland creatures in a futuristic tech world. So it's
Delightful.
looks interesting, and it has caught my attention, caught my eye for a hopeful future play date.
And just a friendly reminder, all of this fun Overwatch stuff and all this Gamescom things, it's all stuff we talk about on the Discord.
That's right.
Oh, and if you were a Patreon subscriber, you too could join in on the fun.
It is a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the Discord a lot.
Did you guys watch the May short?
Yes, did you?
Prepare to cry.
I did.
I about
did.
cried at work. I was like, it
was good.
It was ugly.
They're always good.
I was watching it and I was like, damn those young boys for calling me a devil. She is sweet and kind.
She is a
is a
sweet
nice-
and wonder. She is a nice lady.
But no, it was really good. Again, I was like, please just give us a damn Overwatch
Just-
show. Just do it. Bite the bullet.
I would
You'll
take
know
a
people would
whole
watch
movie
it.
just about May crossing the Antarctic with Snowball. I was
Seriously.
like, Snowball, I love you.
Or like Netflix movies, something. Give us something, Blizzard.
Something.
They're building.
more than the many games they already give us. It's not enough, Blizzard.
It's not enough
God.
because they shouldn't have created such a great universe as Overwatch and
You
just
guys are
taunt
too damn
us.
good at what you do. That's me.
I'm mad because you're so good.
I'm so mad at you.
All right, well, before we go, we do have to do our song contest from this week. And this week's hint comes to us from Dylan Biles, and it is The Real Adventure Happens Under the Sea. Don't think it's The Little Mermaid.
Echo, that dolphin game. Echo.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm totally right.
I haven't listened to it yet, so I don't even know. Because
Definitely
I save it for when I'm
Abzu.
in pre-production.
I'm right.
Okay, you have to decide on one. You can't throw out every single sea game
Yes,
in the
I
world.
can. I can guess as much as I want.
All right, so one more time, the hint is The Real Adventure Happens Under the Sea. And once again, the song contest goes live Wednesday, 9 a.m., the day after this episode airs. We will put out a post on Facebook and Twitter listing the hint and a link to listen to the song again. First person to correctly guess the game by commenting or replying to that tweet or Facebook post will be able to send us a song and hint for a future episode, just like Michael Sandoval is going to get to do because he correctly guessed last week's hint. So you could be the winner
Boom.
of this week's hint. Well, with that, this draws this episode of Team Chat Podcast to a close. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan,
Adios.
and to my left, virtually through the power of the internet, Zachary Parks.
Au revoir.
Go kill him with those sunglasses. Goose, Iceman,
Goose. Yeah, Iceman.
Danger Zone. That's what should be the playout song. Screw the contest, the song contest. It should just be Danger Zone. You know.
It should be.
Like
We got a
anyone.
need for speed.
Yep. There we go. All right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Stick around for the song.
Thank you.